Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's analysis, we're going to take a calm, realistic, and highly important look at investor behavior, risk awareness, and financial decision-making, especially in the context of long-term Iraqi dinar holders. The statement we're discussing today may seem simple on the surface, but it actually reflects a deeper shift in mindset that is becoming increasingly relevant as more people reassess expectations around currency speculation and wealth planning. The core message is clear: avoiding high-risk investments, seeking professional advice, and maintaining a disciplined approach is not just good practice, it is essential, especially in uncertain or speculative markets like foreign currency holdings. For many Iraqi dinar holders, this message resonates strongly because a significant number of investors have been holding this currency for years, even decades, waiting for a potential revaluation event that may or may not unfold in the way originally expected. Let's break this down from a financial and economic perspective. First, the emphasis on avoiding high-risk investments is extremely important. Currency speculation, particularly in emerging or developing economies, carries inherent uncertainty. The Iraqi dinar is not a freely traded global reserve currency, and its exchange rate is heavily influenced by domestic monetary policy, oil revenues, political stability, and central bank strategies. This means that expecting rapid or dramatic gains without considering these underlying factors can expose investors to significant disappointment or financial loss. When someone says they do not adhere to high-risk investments where you can lose everything quickly, it reflects a more mature and grounded understanding of financial markets. In reality, sustainable wealth is rarely built overnight. It is typically the result of careful planning, diversification, and risk management. For Iraqi dinar followers, this is a critical reminder that holding a single speculative asset for a long period without a broader financial strategy can create imbalances in one's overall portfolio. Now, let's talk about the idea that many investors have been waiting for decades for: a so-called RV, or revaluation. This is one of the most widely discussed topics in the dinar community. While it is true that Iraq has undergone significant economic changes over the years, including reforms in banking, oil production, and fiscal policy, the concept of a sudden, massive overnight revaluation remains highly debated and uncertain. From an economic standpoint, any adjustment in a country's currency value is typically gradual and tied to measurable indicators such as GDP growth, foreign reserves, inflation control, and trade balance. Iraq has made progress in some of these areas, but it also continues to face structural challenges, including reliance on oil exports, public sector inefficiencies, and political complexities. These realities suggest that any currency movement would likely be part of a broader, controlled economic strategy rather than a sudden windfall event. This brings us to one of the most practical and valuable points in today's discussion: the importance of consulting legitimate wealth managers and licensed financial professionals. Going to a professional advisor associated with a reputable bank or financial institution can provide a level of clarity and structure that individual speculation often lacks. These professionals are trained to assess risk tolerance, financial goals, time horizons, and market conditions. They can help investors understand where a speculative asset like the Iraqi dinar fits within a diversified portfolio, if at all. However, it's equally important to understand that financial advisors are not neutral observers. As mentioned in the statement, many of them are also involved in selling financial products and may earn commissions. This does not necessarily invalidate their advice, but it does highlight the need for investors to remain informed and ask the right questions. Transparency, fee structures, and potential conflicts of interest should always be part of the conversation. A balanced approach would be to use professional advice as a foundation while still maintaining independent judgment. In other words, investors should not blindly follow recommendations, but rather use them as informed guidance within a broader decision-making process. Now let's explore what this means specifically for Iraqi dinar holders in both the short term and the long term. In the short term, the key takeaway is caution and realism. There is currently no confirmed evidence of an imminent, large-scale revaluation that would dramatically change the value of the dinar overnight. While Iraq continues to work on economic reforms, including modernization of its banking sector and efforts to stabilize its currency, these changes are gradual and policy-driven. For investors, this means managing expectations carefully. Emotional decision-making, driven by rumors or unverified information, can lead to poor financial outcomes. Instead, focusing on verified data, official announcements, and credible economic indicators is the more responsible path. In the long term, the outlook depends heavily on Iraq's ability to continue its economic development. This includes diversifying its economy beyond oil, improving governance, strengthening its financial institutions, and maintaining political stability. If these conditions improve over time, there could be gradual strengthening of the currency. However, this would likely occur within a controlled framework rather than through sudden, extreme shifts. From an investment perspective, this reinforces the importance of diversification. Holding Iraqi dinar as a small portion of a broader portfolio may be reasonable for some investors, but relying on it as a primary wealth-building strategy carries significant risk. Another important aspect to consider is opportunity cost. When funds are tied up in a long-term speculative holding, they are not being used in other potentially productive investments such as equities, bonds, real estate, or business ventures. Over time, this can impact overall financial growth. A professional advisor can help evaluate these trade-offs and suggest a more balanced allocation strategy. It's also worth noting that global financial conditions play a role in shaping currency dynamics. Interest rates, inflation trends, and geopolitical developments can all influence investor sentiment and capital flows. For Iraq, external factors such as oil prices and regional stability are particularly important. This adds another layer of complexity to any long-term currency outlook. The message we're analyzing today ultimately encourages a shift away from speculation-driven thinking toward a more structured and disciplined financial approach. This is a positive development for the community because it promotes sustainability, accountability, and informed decision-making. It also aligns with broader trends in the financial world, where regulators and institutions are increasingly emphasizing investor protection and transparency, encouraging individuals to seek professional advice, understand risks, and avoid unrealistic expectations is part of building a healthier financial environment. For those who have held Iraqi dinar for many years, this may be a moment to reassess and recalibrate. That does not necessarily mean abandoning the investment, but rather placing it within a more comprehensive financial plan. This could include setting clear goals, defining acceptable risk levels, and exploring additional investment opportunities. At the same time, it's important to remain patient and grounded. Economic transformation in a country like Iraq does not happen overnight. Progress is often uneven and influenced by multiple factors. Staying informed through credible sources and maintaining a long-term perspective can help investors navigate this uncertainty more effectively. In conclusion, today's discussion highlights the importance of responsible investing, realistic expectations, and professional guidance. The Iraqi dinar remains a topic of interest for many, but it should be approached with caution, critical thinking, and a clear understanding of the risks involved. If you found this analysis helpful and want to stay updated with responsible and factual Iraqi dinar news, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, remember that this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.